time since I heard the Sierra fanfare.
Epic.
It is. It's got gravitas.
In a MIDI sort of way.
Yeah. So this is an old school adventure game.
I love them because they're silly.
They are very silly.
Such awesome graphics.
Yeah. These are these videos that were included on the disc. This is one of the first like full voice acted adventure games, and they also included these little animations, which must have taken days to render in 1992, which is when this came out.
So jaggy.
Yeah, and I made it the full frame. It was like a tiny fraction of the screen back in the day. It's even lower resolution than the game itself.
The soundtrack is so awesome.
It's which they made a big deal about. The soundtrack, I actually think it's not that great, but yeah, this game was made by Jane Jensen, who was I guess still is kind of a superstar within the adventure game community, even though adventure games don't really exist. I mean, Mass Effect is kind of an adventure game. You walk around, you talk to people, you make decisions, but you do things in the game which make sense.
Well, that's no fun.
It is kind of fun. What you do in an adventure game is totally nonsensical most of the time, although you also walk around and talk to people. I don't know how bad the logic is in this game.
Rockin' MIDI.
Yeah, it's really serious.
If you guys feel like doing a little dance at this juncture, I'm totally doing one. Cause come on, you want to do a little dance right now, in your chair like a dork. Join me.
So I think right before this, Sierra made King's Quest 6, and Jane Jensen worked on that, and I guess that had voice acting, but they hadn't really gotten it down. But this was a big deal. As like, look at all of the when the cast starts coming in, we'll see a bunch of famous people. Tim Curry is Gabriel Knight. Mark Hamill from Star Wars. Lee Remini, best known for being a Scientologist. Virginia Capers is a very famous stage actor. Michael Dorn, who was Worf. And then some people that are less well known. But that Ephraim Zimbalist Jr., most famous for being Stephanie Zimbalist's father, I guess.
Wasn't he a famous stage actor or
yeah,
something?
Yeah. No, he was in a lot of TV a long time ago. Just nothing that, like, not the kind of show, I don't think, that ends up on Nick at Night or one of those stations that plays old shows. Those shows like Car 54, Where Are You, just sort of became lost.
It was a dark and not very stormy night.
This is the early morning.
I just love these graphics so much.
Yeah. All hand-drawn and then digitized, I think.
Oh, the animation.
I bet. Just a minute. It lives, I see. Do you want to speak with Lolita?
Lolita.
I'm sorry, but Gabriel is a lout. Oh, I mean, he's out.
Ha ha.
Yeah, if he ever comes back, I'll tell him. You know, you could do better. I know I don't know you, but you could do better. Sure. Good morning. The phone's been ringing off the hook all morning. Let me know when you want your messages.
Yeah.
Gee, you're lively. Did you have another nightmare last night?
Sort of.
I told you it's that voodoo book you're researching. That stuff can seriously screw up your karma.
I'm sure that's it. Maybe I should write a horror novel on passive resistance instead.
So don't sleep. It's your body. Anyway, your handheld tape recorder came today.
Really? Great.
I love that he's excited about that. Like, ooh, handheld tape recorder.
I can't wait to see what human rights you violate with this one.
I can't wait to violate them. For example, if you would just let me...
And I located some local voodoo references for you. Dixieland Drugstore and the Historical Museum of Voodoo. Both are right here in French Quarter.
How would I ever manage without you?
You? Give me a break. The devil himself couldn't change you.
Well, if the devil had great legs, perhaps, like yours.
And a riveting personality, I'm sure. Well, if you need any more research done, just ask. It's not as though we're swamped with customers.
So the game is played. You have an icon up here. There are the 8 things that you can do. You can walk somewhere. You can look at something. You can ask. You can holla at. Pick up, open, push, and operate. A little more fine-grained.
Don't mind if I do.
Do what?
Oh, nothing.
So look at Grace. That's a joke. The narrator has a voice. That's Virginia Capers, and it's really bad. So I'm going to show it off here for reading the newspaper, but having it on the rest of the game is really annoying.
Times Picayune, dated June 18, 1993. The front page has an article about the voodoo murders.
That is annoying.
The article says that the victims are all identified as members of the underworld. The general public of New Orleans is in no danger. Police claim the so-called voodoo trappings found at the crime scenes are fake, a scare tactic, and that the murders are not associated with any genuine practitioners. Gabriel also scans the Aquarius horoscope for the day. Potential storms ahead. Proceed with caution, and do not get involved with anything new at this time.
Right.
So imagine every single thing, like when you look at him, handsome isn't he, for every single time that you look at anything. So I just turn it off.
Yeah, no thank you.
So that newspaper introduces us to the voodoo murders are happening in New Orleans, which is where we are.
As you can tell by his extremely convincing accent. Actually, I don't know. Maybe it is convincing.
This tells us that Gabriel is a writer, but not a very successful one. And of course, this is an adventure game, so you pick up anything that you can.
Anything that isn't nailed down, and some
Mind if
things
I
that
borrow the
are.
magnifying glass?
No, Sherlock. Just bring it back when we get the next estate shipment.
No problem.
So this is a rare bookstore that they run, and they never have any customers.
Sad but true. Also, this is the pre-eBay era,
I'm
so...
going to take the tweezers for a bit.
Good. You're beginning to look a little scruffy.
Oh, Jesus.
Just
Like he's
trying to
going
make
to
you feel at
tweeze his
home.
beard.
So the little ding is there's a point system.
You have a thing.
Like
Oh.
the rest of the Sierra games all have a score, too.
So, what's new, Grace?
Your use of mathematics, for one thing. These books are unbelievable.
It's a bad
What can I
line
say?
reading. What she
I
means
refuse
is
to
that
be bound
his
by rules.
The
books,
strap marks on your bedpost
his
prove
accounting
otherwise.
books are totally false or full of trickery. That's a bad line reading.
It sounded like she was really amazed
Got
by
it.
Yeah,
like,
Right.
right.
like
Like she
something
was
good.
she was impressed by it. No,
Mm.
that's not what they mean.
Do you have messages for me?
Dana called, and Susie left a message about a lawsuit.
Toss 'em.
Okie dokie. There's more when you want 'em.
Do you have more messages for me?
Your grandmother called.
I keep meaning to get over there. What did she say? Did she sound good?
She sounded great, and we had a nice little chat about you.
Grace.
Don't worry. I didn't go into detail about your cardinal sins. Not that anything about you could surprise her. She adores you anyway.
She's my girl.
But she said to remind you to stop by and go through your father's things.
Okay.
Okay, so Gabriel was orphaned at a young age and was raised by his grandmother. We don't know the circumstances of that right now.
Do you have more messages for me?
Here's a strange one.
Could she
You
just
got a call
tell
from
him
someone
all?
named
No.
Wolfgang Ritter? He said he was calling from Germany. He told me it was urgent, maybe you should give him a call.
Call Germany, like hell. If it's really important, he'll call back.
Well, fine. Let's just hope he's not with the German lottery for pitiful American authors.
Seems unlikely.
Yeah, she won't just give
Do
you
have
all
more
the
messages for me?
Your friend Detective Mosley called.
Jesus.
Talkative, isn't he?
Well, he's sexually harassing
Especially
her.
with you.
So.
Well, I
What do you want?
suppose.
He left an interesting message. He told me to tell you that his mother's maiden name is Humphrey. Oh, that's Humphrey.
Fascinating.
And that he left some photos for you at the station, at the front desk.
It's about time.
Gabriel, those photos wouldn't have anything to do with the voodoo murders, would they?
Now, why would you say something like that?
So the plot could
Because I
advance.
know you. You're getting privileged information, aren't you? Did you tell him you'd put him in your new voodoo book?
A writer has certain obligation to his readers, you know.
Gabriel, you know you'll never put him in your book. Your main character is a female orthodontist. You're gonna be reincarnated as a pit bull if you keep screwing with your karma.
As long as it's a male pit bull with a really big...
That's enough. Thanks. Anyway, that's all the messages. Thank God.
Well, delivering his messages would be a less arduous process if you would just, I don't know, write them down maybe and say,
Tell me
here.
about yourself, Grace.
Yeah, right, Knight.
I mean it.
What do you want to know?
So you can ask her a bunch. These don't really matter. They're just if you're interested.
What do you do after work?
Well, I either go to my oil painting class or my Tai Chi. You know that.
You know, you can go overboard with this improving yourself stuff. You don't want to alienate us mere mortals.
I suppose I should just allow my mind and body to atrophy.
Works for me.
This was one of the first games, I think, that had lip syncing of the characters.
How do you like working at
voice.
St. George's Books?
Well, it's not exactly a huge intellectual challenge.
Must
Although
have
the
been
math
so
in your
much
record
work
books
back
could
then.
confuse
Yeah,
Einstein.
for the time, it's actually pretty good.
Still, I love old books, and it's a nice way to pay the bills while explore the city for a summer. If you ever pay me, that is.
You could get a different job.
Just tell me anything at all.
I just got my master's in history and classics. My folks wanted me to go on right away for my PhD, but 18 years of school was enough. I needed a break.
Okay, so presumably she's about 24.
Suit yourself.
Does that imply that she spent like 5 years getting a master's in history and classics?
Well, maybe that's how they do. I don't know how a PhD in the humanities works.
Well, it's all nonsense, so you wouldn't think it would take that long. I mean, you don't have to actually do anything.
Set of German books that once belonged to Gabriel's grandfather. Why would his grandfather have German books?
Coincidentally, he just got a call from Germany.
Yeah.
I love how you have to look at everything.
You don't. They're just trying to see what's there. Okay, a book on snakes. That's going to come up. Here's 3 Snakes in a Skull. A painting by
What a
Gabriel's
wacky,
father.
offbeat kind of guy Daddy was.
So the opening movie, we saw a nightmare that Gabriel was having, which will come back into play later. You can drink coffee.
Does it replenish you in some way?
Nope.
Or, no, it's just something they wanted to do. Add
Good
realism.
coffee.
Yeah, a lot of the conversations are also ancillary. You could just zoom past them. I'm doing this now, but you could...
Drei Drachen. Drei Drachen kriechen in meinen Schlaf. Die Ziele wollen sie lebendig zum Fraß. Feurigen Atems, gespaltener Zunge, genießen sie jedes Mal.
One
That's
sense
nice.
of frass is insects
Kind of
poop,
creepy, though. Who's the
just so you
author?
know.
Heinz Ritter. I'm not sure what it says, but I get the feeling the guy was one sick puppy.
Ritter. It's the
That's
second.
the second time we've heard that.
Yeah, second reference to a Ritter.
You learned something. I am going to try to think of 4-syllable little things to go with that little noise
Mhm.
every time.
Okay.
Just, to warn you.
So the open is different from the operate. And if
Obviously.
you choose the wrong one, nothing will happen. At the time, I think the industry was moving towards a smart cursor, and at the time, she thought that the game would work better if you had more granularity over what you could do.
I trust you can live without this old gift certificate.
Knock yourself out.
What possible use could an old gift certificate be?
It wasn't nailed down, so you know it's going to come in handy sometime.
Yeah. Anything that you can pick up, you should pick up. I don't remember whether there are things that you never use that you can pick up.
I'll be back later.
Don't hurry back on my account.
So there's an overworld map that you use to get between places. Better than some games where you actually have to walk across a bunch of screens.
Mm.
So they really added like all of the French Quarter points of interest. Those are the two that Grace told us about: the Dixieland drugstore and the historical museum of voodoo. She seems surprised that you're investigating the voodoo murders, and yet she's looking up voodoo sources for you.
Yeah.
So she's maybe not the best at reasoning. So we'll start out at Gabriel's grandmother's house.
Gabriel, I'm so glad you stopped by.
Southern Belle.
Sorry it's been a while, Grandma.
Not at all. Give us a kiss.
Bless your heart.
Now come and sit down. Tell me how you're doing.
Harrison Knight. And then the grandmother and grandfather. And we're given to believe that the grandfather's been dead for quite some time.
Is he a zombie?
He's not a zombie.
That's my gran. Adorable as always.
You're such a tease.
Little fourth wall breaking there. Holla at Grandma.
How you been, Gran?
Just fine, dear. I'm sorry I bothered you at work, but I was hoping you'd
No,
get a
she's
chance to
not.
go through your father's things in the attic.
All
Don't
of a
be
sudden,
silly.
this
You
is an
can call
emergency.
me anytime.
Well, maybe he's been dragging his feet and she wants his shit out of there.
Can we talk, Gran?
It's presumably
Of
been there
course,
this
my boy.
long. What's another
How
couple
can I
days?
help?
She wants to build an exercise room up there.
Yeah, she looks the type.
Compliment her is the wrong.
You know, you get prettier every time I see you.
Oh, you.
It's
Tell
very
me about yourself.
Sweet music.
Me? Oh, surely you have something more interesting to talk about.
All right, let's
Oh,
talk
come
about
on,
some
Gran.
murders.
All right, dear. What do you want to hear?
How you feeling these days?
Fit as a fiddle, and don't you worry your head about it.
When was the last time you murdered somebody? Somebody trying to murder you? With voodoo?
Tell me about before you met Granddaddy.
Well, you know I was born Rebecca Wright. My daddy owned a lot of land outside of town. We grew peas, corn, cotton, all kinds of things. It was a good childhood, but my father was very strict. He didn't much let me out of his sight.
So we're mostly after family information.
Tell me how you met Granddaddy.
I met Harrison at a church revival. There was a traveling preacher back then, a big fella named Reverend Jim. I even remember his slogan, "Come to me to find your way." Your granddad was sitting right behind me and my girlfriend Alma, and at one point, old Reverend Jim was flinging his hair around with his fire and brimstone antics, and a piece of it, one of those small add-on do's for men, went flying off. I swear, Harrison and I were the only ones that noticed. We both started laughing to beat the band. Everyone looked at us like we were a couple of loonies. It was then I knew that he was for me.
That's a sound way to choose your spouse, I'm sure.
Oh,
Gabriel doesn't seem to know much about his family.
Tell me about our family.
who would you like to hear about? Your granddad, your father, or your mother?
Tell me something about Granddad.
Your granddad immigrated to America when he was 21. He worked his way through school, met and married me, and we had your father, Philip.
Not much there, okay.
Tell me about my father.
Your father was my only child. How we adored him. Philip suffered from terrible nightmares, just like your granddad did. They were 2 peas in a pod.
Seems to be something of a tradition.
Yeah, so Gabriel's starting to have these
Tell me
nightmares.
about my mother.
Your mother was Margaret Templeton when your father met her. She came from a very wealthy Creole family in New Orleans. She was beautiful and reckless. She was madly in love with your father, of course, but I also think she liked defying her family. Since you're so interested in family history these days, why don't you go by St. Louis Cemetery No. 1 and visit the family tomb? It would be a sweet gesture.
So
Maybe I will.
So by asking those questions, we get a new place on the map that we can go to, the cemetery.
Hence that little noise.
Yeah, I won't go there in this episode, but we will be spending a lot of time in the above ground cemeteries that they have in New Orleans. All right.
I'm going to go up to the attic, Gran.
Be careful of the dust.
I don't understand that comment. Be careful of the dust.
Lest you
What?
sneeze,
Oh,
which would be just terrible.
are there dust mites?
Oh, maybe there's dust bunnies and they are vicious attack bunnies.
Hmm.
You'll need a holy hand grenade.
So there's a lot of ancillary commentary if you look around at stuff.
From Gran's Virginia Woolf period.
It's kind of a cool hat. I mean, those are pretty much
Yeah.
back in.
Sketchbook.
Can you yoink it?
Yeah.
I think I'll take Daddy's sketchbook with me.
And go into your inventory and you can look at or open or read things.
And use things with other things?
Yeah, not that much.
Oh.
So that's disturbing as hell. I think that's supposed to be a dragon. There's the 3 snakes. I guess that's the leopard, and there's that medallion that we saw in the opening. So these are suspiciously familiar images in his father's sketchbook. You would think you could interact with that trunk, but no. Okay, here we have our first example of adventure game logic. You would think something interesting would be in that chest, but in fact there's actually something in that clock.
Well,
Yeah. So the clock has 6 icons. One of those is supposed to be a dragon. And the poem that Gabriel read started out by saying 3 dragons. I think it says 3 dragons sleep in my castle. So, of course, what you do is you put the dragon on the top and then wind... Like, why would somebody make a puzzle box like this?
they just wanted to just shut up. Because shut up, that's why.
Yeah. So you turn it to 3 p.m. and then you turn the key and it opens.
Also, that would make it less useful as
Granddaddy,
a
you
clock.
old
Yeah,
fox.
I don't see how it could possibly work as a clock. So let's look at this picture. Old photograph shows Gabriel's grandfather with 2 other men that Gabriel doesn't know in front of a castle. Okay. Does it say anything? You read the picture. The back of the photo says Schloss Ritter, 1925.
There's that name again.
Ritter. Schloss means castle. And a letter. And the letter's in German, so Gabriel can't read it, but it's addressed to Heinz Ritter. Heinz Ritter wrote the poem that we read earlier. So the letter's from Schloss Ritter to Heinz Ritter, back in West Germany. It was still West Germany at the time, I guess. My son Heinz. And a recurring word, Schattenjäger, or Schattenjager.
Shots of Jaeger?
Yes, shots of Jaeger. It's a letter, it's a missive about his drinking.
I don't really like Jaeger. Tastes like Robitussin.
Yeah, it's licorice-y.
Mm.
Okay, so the video game logic, the adventure game logic, there is a book in St. George's Books that has, it's like a German to English dictionary. Now, you can't pick up the dictionary and bring it with you or translate that poem, but it will translate certain words in it, like dragons and castle and stuff, so that you can piece together enough to solve that puzzle. I still say it doesn't make much sense. So let's talk to Grandma about all of the shit that we just found.
That's it. Take a load off, hon.
Can we talk, Gran?
No.
Of course, my boy. How can I help?
I found several suspicious items.
Who are these Ritter people?
Do you know anyone named Heinz Ritter?
Heinz Ritter. Oh, Gabriel. Where did you hear that name?
Where
I
do you
found a
think?
letter in Granddaddy's clock.
I promised I'd never tell you or your father. But I suppose it doesn't matter now.
Tell me, Gran.
Your granddad's name was Heinz Ritter before he came to America. He changed it to Harrison Knight legally when he arrived.
Okay, so Heinz Ritter.
Why did Granddad change his name?
I don't know.
To
I
fit
tried
in.
to ask him about
Immigrants
his
used to
family,
do that.
his life before America, but he didn't want to talk about it.
Well, it seems
Never
as though
even
he was
told
trying to
me
make
about
himself
his
hard
name
to find.
change.
Mm.
I found out one day when I saw his passport in a drawer.
That was fairly
Since
common,
he
though.
obviously found it painful, I never questioned him about it.
Damn it,
I'm
Granny.
Sure it wasn't trouble with the law. Your granddad was the best man I ever knew.
She seems surprisingly unaffected by the fact that there was a
Didn't
letter
Granddad
inside
ever
a
say
clock.
anything
Yeah,
about
that's
his past
like,
or his
oh,
family?
okay. Yeah, sure, of
Only
course.
that his family was crazy, and that he never wanted to see them again.
So Harrison
He
thought his
believed
family
in
was
some
weird.
family curse. Thought that he could spare Philip and Philip's children from what he called old nightmares.
No, evidently
Whatever
not.
Harrison wanted to spare you, though, it cost him plenty. He never did sleep well, and he would often get a faraway, guilty look in his eyes. He was wrestling with something he thought he should be doing, someplace he thought he ought to be. I don't know how he could think that he should be anywhere but with me and our child. It's a terrible way to live.
Okay.
Have you ever heard of a Schottenjäger?
Schattenjager? Schattenjager. How odd, Gabriel. I haven't heard that word in years. My goodness, you've given me a chill. Your granddad used to say that sometimes in his sleep.
Really? Do you know what it means?
No, I'm afraid not. I asked him about it once. I don't think he answered me. Odd.
She
Hmm.
never looked it up.
Thanks, Gran.
Schottenjäger means shadow hunter. We're not clear on what that is, but that's what it literally translates to.
Done anything
Is it
interesting
like a
lately?
Vampire Slayer?
I raised you.
Lately, Gran.
Oh, Oh, you know me, Gabriel. I always got my nose poked into something.
It must run in the family.
So his grandmother raised him because his parents died in a car accident when he was very young.
Or did
Well,
they?
Gran,
Yes,
I
they
better
died.
get going.
All right,
But
dear.
was it a car accident? Or something more sinister?
I think it was a car accident. I can't actually remember. You might be right. Maybe the plot does thicken. Oh, that's messed up. So the things we had on our to-do list were to go see Grandma and then check out what's going on with the detective who's working on the Voodoo Murders case.
What is that? Oh, that was your pointer. I was like, what is that thing on the floor? Can you take that? What is it?
I like this description of the cop. 30 extra pounds between his armpits and a complexion the consistency of gray oatmeal. In other words, a typical product of good Southern cooking.
It is good, though.
She's not bad.
I don't know if you could write a character like Gabriel this way anymore. He's extremely not just chauvinistic, like he actually harasses
Got a
women.
second, officer?
Grand Theft Auto.
What can I do you
I
for?
don't know if they're like
All of
that
them?
though.
You can have sex with the prostitutes
see
to restore your
Detective
health
Mosley.
and then murder them to get your money back.
Yeah,
You can murder them.
but they're not supposed to be sympathetic. Gabriel is.
Oh,
Where is
I
the
suppose
crime
that's
scene?
true.
Is it related to the voodoo murders?
Crime scene information is police confidential. We don't need any more looky-loos than are probably already there.
Okay, so Mosley's not there. He's at a Voodoo Murders crime scene. So there's more.
Come on, you can tell me what the crime scene
There's
is.
more video game
Well,
logic about to
I
happen.
know the papers got everybody stirred up about these killings, but that don't make it public information. Back off.
Shouldn't you go get
So
some
this
coffee?
is a new voodoo murder then?
Hey, I didn't say that. You'll read all about it in the papers tomorrow, I'm sure.
Really?
About Detective Mosley.
Come on.
I told you, he's not here.
But where is he?
All right, so that's all we're gonna get out of him.
I was supposed to pick up some photos from Detective Mosley at the front desk.
Is that right? And who are you?
My name is Knight. Gabriel Knight.
Yeah, I got something for you, all right.
What
As
is
soon as you're done talking, I'll give it to
I
you.
don't know why they decided to go with that line reading. Maybe it's a joke? Like he's just supposed to be completely insane.
Here's that envelope for you, Gabriel Knight.
Knight.
Thank you,
Thanks.
Mr. Desk Guy.
With oatmeal skin. Open the folder. So these are supposed to be for the book that Gabriel's writing. This is
Grizzly.
yeah. His heart is torn out, and there's chicken feathers around. The newspaper said that all of the victims were like criminals. That it doesn't matter for normal people.
Oh, it's Dexter. Maybe in his early days. I mean, this was only 1993, so he wasn't as good at disposing the bodies yet.
Mm-hmm. And mostly also included a picture of himself because he wants to be in.
Because he's impossibly vain.
Well, he wants to be in the. Yes, he's vain. He wants to be in Gabriel's book. He thinks Gabriel's writing a non-fiction book when in fact Gabriel's working on sort of a fictionalized version of what's going on. So how would we find the crime scene? This makes, I mean, you don't have any reason to think this. You could just go buy a police scanner, right? That would be logical.
Don't be ridiculous.
Instead, we walk into the park and see this cop standing here, and his motorcycle has a radio on it. We'll hear it squawking in a minute.
Anyone seen Joe?
But we have to get the cop away from his bike in order to overhear.
Can we set something on fire? We have a magnifying glass.
Oh my god. Setting something on fire would make so much sense compared to what you actually have to do.
Good day, officer.
Yeah.
Do you go
too.
grab that
Keep
woman's
moving.
ass?
Nope.
Anyone seen Joe?
Also would make sense. You also cannot interact with that mullet
Could
guy.
I ask you a few questions?
Not now, buddy. I'm busy.
I should have noticed that. Thanks.
Does it have to do with that little band and their awesome MIDI music?
I'm telling you, anything would make more sense than what actually happens.
Anyone's
Couldn't you
This-
just stand there and eavesdrop?
No, that's what you would think, right? I mean, you can clearly hear the radio. They only ever play when the Saints go marching in. So, anybody who watches Treme will know that musicians don't actually spend all day playing when the Saints go marching in.
Crazy talk.
Okay, so there's a mime, and the mime
I'd
follows
never.
people around
Leave me alone, you
and annoys them.
man.
You man.
You man.
You man.
You man. My word. I never.
You cannot talk to the mime.
Can you deck him?
No, there's no
Oh.
deck button.
God damn it.
So this is what you have to do. You walk over to the mime so that he starts annoying you. Then you have to walk back over to where the cop is in such a way that he doesn't latch on to anybody else. Like if I had walked by that guy, he would have started annoying that guy and then gone back to where he was. So I have to wait for that guy to clear, then walk near enough this cop that this scene will play, which fortunately I get on the first time.
Oh my god, that's such awesome adventure game logic. I love it.
Cut
Yeah.
that out.
You fetch him to annoy the cop. I
Well,
I told you to stop that.
that's at least part of the reason why this genre kind of died out.
Oh, come on. That's awesome. I mean, you really kind of
All
want to
right,
walk
mister.
through for
You
that.
want some of this?
Yeah, and back then you had to buy them.
Yeah, there was like no internet. I mean, only the
Not
barest,
much.
the very beginnings of the internet.
A couple years after this, there started to be
Ambulance 911,
people.
have you located the crime scene? They've radioed for you 3 times.
Damn! Did you say it was north of the Lake Retreat Country Club?
South, Lakeside Drive north of Piedmont Pier, south of the Country Club.
Man, I don't know if it's the clouds out here today or what. Good thing this guy's already dead.
Everyone's having trouble. Must have been hallucinogens in the coffee this morning.
It's just so misty out here or something. Hey, I see a squad car. Got it, Molly.
Thank God. Have a good one, 9-1.
Interesting.
Stupid mime. Hey, you! Get away from that bike.
Sorry.
Yeah, a couple years after this, there started being websites. I remember back in like '94, you could look up a walkthrough for most games like this. But at the time, I think I owned a book. Like I purchased a book.
I had no idea. Like, King's Quest IV came with my sound card, and I played that game so many times, and I never could get of the damn whale. I just couldn't. And it turns out there's no trick to it. You just need to be better than I was at the time. So 10 years later, I actually did, and I was able to finish that stupid game.
That's the way it was. You might never finish a game.
Or the damn shovel would break. I played King's Quest IV seriously a lot, like over and over again.
Sierra was known for making games where you could lose. I don't know. This police car just didn't render. I don't know why. So those guys are supposed to be getting into a police car right now. I don't know if that's because I'm playing it through DOSBox or what.
It's an invisible police car.
Yes, this takes on wholly new meaning.
Oh, there it goes.
Anyway, Sierra was known for having games in which you would die for no real reason,
Hey,
Or you'd just be unable to progress, like in the middle.
which is even worse.
Yeah.
Night, you wiener. I told you not to call me that.
Feeling jumpy?
Who, me? Don't be stupid. How'd you find me?
Oh, I was
Never
just
mind.
driving.
Oh my god. I wish he would explain to him how he found him. Well, let me tell you about it.
It's another one. As you can see, same MO and no frickin' clues. We're
still waiting on an ID for the body.
That's disgusting. Isn't this a rather, public area for this kind of thing?
Yeah, they're frickin' ghosts, these guys. Lakeshore Drive isn't exactly the 10 expressway, but it is open to the public. No reports and nothing. Now, who the hell is that?
Do they use like call it the 10? I thought that was, I wouldn't expect.
Well, here in Atlanta they don't, but maybe they do in Louisiana.
Could be.
This is a little comic book section. These come up here and again.
Good day, Miss Getty.
What's going on, officer?
Detective Mosley, ma'am. We've
Dead
got a
guy
little
here.
problem here, but nothing for you to be concerned about, Miss Getty.
I see. Thank you, Detective.
Now, who is Miss Getty?
Good day, gentlemen.
I'm sure that'll never come up again.
Whoa, I'm in love.
Forget it. That's Malia Getty. She's about as far out of your reach as the moon. Probably on her way to meet some guy with a yacht right now.
Near here?
The lake's a popular place for country clubs.
If she's out here a lot, maybe she saw something or heard something.
Man, nobody ever sees or hears nothing. I told you. Besides, you just don't go around bothering people like her.
I'll get a mime to bother her.
We've about
get him
wrapped
to
it up,
follow
sir.
you out of that
It's another clean sweep.
Let's get the meat wagon moving then.
Dedicated
Do you want to
mime.
leave an officer here, sir?
Nah. Just leave the tape up for a few days.
Especially
Yes,
that
sir.
one tied to the tree.
If you'll excuse us, sir, we'll take him away.
Yeah. Sierra was brutal to its customers. Yeah, you would get 2/3 of the way through
Stick
the
around
game.
and take notes for the book if you want. Watch out for the muck in the water moccasins, though. I'll be back at the station. Stop by if you want to go over the case some more.
You could be 2/3 of the way into the game and then found out something that you did within the first 10 minutes made it impossible for you to finish. And people just put up with it for a while.
Well,
LucasArts games never did that. There were no dead ends and you never died. Little Lady Macbeth reference. So we're on the shores of Lake Pontchartrain, which is, we're given to believe, a pretty public place. And all of these murders happen in places where you would think somebody would have noticed something. But they never have. There's a little design on the floor, on the ground, which is mostly wiped out, but there's some of it there. So you have to draw it. The game will not progress unless you do this.
Let me try to get this down.
you drew something.
So if we want to put this together, we're going to have to get the other parts of the pattern.
Of course we are.
Yeah. And more video adventure game logic will be necessary. And then the other thing that people didn't like, and fair enough, was that you had to do a little bit of pixel hunting. So does there look like there's anything going on those blades of grass?
Not really.
But there's this patch over here, and it says the grass has a matted appearance there, and you really have to look at that to see it. And if you can't just look at that part. You have to use the magnifying glass on that matted grass and see that there's a snake scale there.
Oh, geez.
Yeah. And you can't just grab the snake scale.
Well, you need tweezers, obs.
You need to use the tweezers. And that's, that's a complaint that people had, and they're not wrong. And they were things that eventually did go away. They did eventually stop doing this kind of shit, but the medium was pretty much dead anyway.
Alas.
Well,
Maybe a snake scale.
I think it's a snake scale, but it beats the hell out of me. What kind?
I think that most of the good aspects of adventure gaming are still around. I think that the adventure game logic went out the door. You still have games where you walk around, you talk to people, you soak in atmosphere. They're not just games about shooting.
Is that clay?
You have to pick up clay here.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah.
I don't think you need to do it this chapter, but you do need to.
You definitely are going to need some mud at some point.
Eventually, you're going to need clay. And so the thing is, the game is broken up into days, and this day will not end until certain conditions have been met.
It's like that show, Daybreak, only less repeaty and more unending.
Hi. Look around all you want.
Sure thing.
Okay,
So this is the Historical Voodoo Museum. Notice the drummer outside the window. That's something that we'll be interested in later.
Drumming?
Well, not exactly. A bandana worn by a voodoo queen. I don't think that's how you spell bandana.
Reminds me of a book critic for the New York Times.
So I don't know what that means. Did Gabriel have a book that was badly reviewed?
I guess.
I don't know. There's a child's coffin. Right now we don't really know if this
He's got more
is...
hair than Mosley.
Ha.
Mm.
Funny, I say the same thing to women.
That's not funny.
Mm.
A street drummer has settled outside the museum. There's a snake up there. But we can't talk to this woman about the snake because she's just like an intern, or she's not
Could I ask you a few questions?
the owner of the
I
museum.
wouldn't be much help. You should talk to Dr. John, the owner. He'll be back tomorrow.
So we have to come back
I
the
see.
next day.
Thank you.
Nothing more we can do here. And there's a knife, and it's a snaky looking knife.
Can we steal it?
No.
Mm.
But we take note of that knife. Maybe we'll...
Steal it later?
I'll be
Yes.
gone now, thanks.
Excellent.
Maybe we'll steal it later.
So long.
Anyway, you know, puzzles and human interaction and all of that stuff, that, you know, that's kind of in Mass Effect, and then the game part of it is actually fun. So this is the Dixieland drugstore. Again, not much we can do at this point. I think we're meant to believe that most of this is just touristy shit, voodoo dolls and magic candles, and they disclaim it.
Lodestone powder. 5-finger grass. Something tells me I'm not in Kansas anymore.
You never were. Hello. You were always in New Orleans, or didn't you notice from your own accent?
St. John's Eve. Lagniappe.
Lagniappe. My French is lousy, but everyone in New Orleans knows what that means.
A little something extra.
So if we buy something, we get that stuff. Of course, we have no money right now.
We have that gift certificate for some reason.
Those are gree-gree. They're full of magic. No guarantees, though, you know.
Naturally.
All right, let's talk to the guy.
Mind if I ask you a few questions?
Ask what you want. I'll answer what I want.
Okay.
That's some shirt you got on.
Do you know anything about snakes?
What kind of snakes?
I am a
the kind they
herpetologist in
use
my
in
spare
voodoo?
time. That was terrible.
Pythons and boas. So I've heard.
Really? Do you have one?
A snake, a
Are
python.
you crazy? What would I want with a python?
All right, that's a little detail about what kind of snakes are used in voodoo. Pythons.
What do
and
you know
boas.
about the voodoo murders?
Cabri Sancour.
Python's a
What did you
kind of
say?
boa constrictor.
Nothing. Those killings have nothing to do with my shop, monsieur.
So he utters Cabri sans col. I will find out what that means
What did you
later.
mean when you said Cabri sans corps?
I didn't say that.
You did. I heard you say it.
You heard wrong, monsieur. I said no such thing.
Something with its heart out? I don't know what Cabri means. I don't really know the other part either.
What's the significance of St. John's Eve?
It's the biggest night of the year in voodoo.
What goes on exactly?
Voodoo?
I couldn't say.
I think maybe he could.
He's pretty cagey. Alright. I don't know if there's much else we can ask of him that would be interesting. There's an alligator head. A crocodile head, sorry. Are there crocodiles in Louisiana? I thought there were only alligators.
I kind of think crocodiles are more of an Africa thing, but what do I know?
I thought so too. Anyway, we'll be coming back for that mask.
Definitely they have alligators. Of course, they could import a crocodile head. I mean, it's not impossible or anything.
Napoleon House is a bar. We have no real reason to go there, but
Let's do it anyway.
There's a drummer outside of Napoleon House. Looks the same as the other drummer.
He travels. Is he following us?
It's a different guy.
Oh.
There's these two guys playing chess.
Go flip their board over.
That's antisocial.
What? Like that's not your first impulse when you see two people playing chess?
No.
Oh.
Kind of cute. Nah.
You know, Sam, you're just about the worst chess player I ever knew.
Shut up, Marcus.
Well, there was no do, so we don't care about Sam and Marcus there. Or their chess playing prowess, or lack thereof.
Let's talk to the bartender about the drummer outside.
Could I ask you a few questions?
Sure. I'm not too busy at the moment.
And a couple other things.
Does the phrase Gabriel sans cœur mean anything to you?
You know what goes in it?
I don't think it's a drink.
Oh.
Could be.
Then I probably don't know anything about it.
I thought that was funny.
Yeah.
The game isn't very funny.
What's the significance of St. John's Eve?
All I know is it's some kind of voodoo holiday.
Which we already knew.
Yeah.
What can you tell me about your regulars in here?
This crowd,
they drink
the
a lot.
ones you see are mostly regulars. That guy and girl in the corner come here a lot. When they're not fighting, they're all over each other. In other words, they're in love.
Tell me about the street musicians around here.
I like music as much as the next guy, but they get pretty monotonous sometimes, you know? Like that drummer right outside. They say there's been a drummer outside Napoleon House since the day it opened. I like drums, but this character really gets on my nerves. It sounds like the same thing over and over. I just want to say, enough already.
Okay.
Sounds like my life.
So there's drummers outside of various places, and they've been there for a long time, and they play monotonous music.
And we can't talk to the actual drummer for some reason?
No. Not at this point.
We can only ask other people about them.
So let's go back and talk to Mosley. This is one of the last things we have to do before the end of the day. Let's talk to the policeman again. That was a rousing conversation the first time.
He's such a fan of us.
Yeah.
Hey, nice precinct.
Think so?
Oh my God.
That's peachy. That means more to me than you could know. Hey, it's a beignet guy.
Ooh, beignets.
Yeah.
Great, I'm starved.
That'll be useful later.
There's a door. I guess that goes somewhere else inside, although
That door is to Mosley's office.
So, what a peculiarly shaped building that is then.
Yeah. I don't know that they really thought about it that much.
Well, I guess they had serious limitations on screen space.
Stay put, you.
Oh, sure.
Hey, grab
yes,
me
I will
3,
stand
would ya?
right here.
Sure.
Yeah, I think digitizing, like scanning a color photo in high detail back then was not that trivial. Maybe they, I don't know. This game was also released on floppy disk, so without the voices, so maybe that was a problem. I don't actually know.
Floppy 5 of 8 will not work.
Thanks.
Oh man, that brings up bad memories. Floppy disks. They actually worked better than...
No one... Sorry.
You can't just go back. You have to talk to him, tell him you're here to see Mosley, even though he knows that you're looking for Mosley.
What can I do?
And then you can go through the door. It's a nuisance.
I'm here. He's in his...
So I just skipped that dialogue. Yeah, I I don't know if I ever had a game where the floppy disk stopped working. It is remarkable, isn't it?
Mosley, my man.
It's you, God help me.
Can I ask you about some stuff?
You're the writer. Ask away.
What do you...
Lots.
What do
Can
you
be
know
more
about the
specific?
case that you're working on? Some stuff.
Do you know anything about the killers?
At least 20 people attend the killings. We know this from the variety of footprints found at the scenes.
Footprints? Aren't those as good as fingerprints?
Yeah, let's
Can
just look for
be,
the footprint database.
First, and the suspect would have to match one of the few distinct prints we have. Most of the footprints are smudged, trodden over, unreadable. These guys are so casual in their expertise, it's maddening. Like they know we'll never find them.
Maybe they do. Know that, I mean.
How many murders have there been so far?
7 murders have so far been linked to the Voodoo Murders case. Now, the first murder occurred about 8 weeks ago. The M.O. was the same in each murder. Lake Pontchartrain was the 7th.
Okay.
What kind of evidence have you found?
No fingerprints, a few bare footprints. Found a few fibers, but not many. The weirdest one was leopard fur.
Leopard.
Leopard fur? Describe the crime scenes.
Well, there's the corpse itself, minus the heart. Around where the body was killed, we find marks and flour and blood. There are traces of wax from candles, red and black. Ordinary wax candles, so the lab reports. Also blood and feathers of chickens. Also goat's blood. And plenty of the victim's own, of course.
So there's some kind of animal sacrifice going on.
What's the coroner say?
Animals, apparently.
The victim's heart is always ripped out of the chest and missing. We haven't located a single one of them.
Lovely.
Pile of hearts
Any idea
anywhere.
what they do with them?
Don't even want to know.
them?
Also, the coroner says some of the victims had heart attacks before the incision. Literally scared to death. The knife wounds are consistent with a long, narrow, wavy-edged knife. Probably a ritualistic
A
dagger.
wavy-edged knife. Where
Is
have
that
we
knife
seen
we saw
one?
before wavy-edged?
Mm-hmm.
What, can we steal it now?
Nope. There's never been a single witness. No one's even heard a disturbance. It's damned weird. Like they just don't want people to see, and so nobody sees nothing.
Well, they're voodoo people, right? So that's
Know
totally
anything about
reasonable.
the victims?
The victims are all out-of-towners. We still don't know why.
Because they're stupider.
So I don't know that really jives
sure.
with what the newspaper said, which is that they're all members of the underworld. He says they're all from out of town.
Can you
Maybe they're
That's
out
coming
of
up,
town
isn't it?
We get
underworlders.
some occasional weirdness in the quarter, but nothing much.
Used to have a lot of strange things happen, though, or so I hear.
Such as?
He doesn't say.
Do you have any idea what Cabri sans coeur means?
Hell no. Is that French? My mother spoke it, but I always had a hard enough time just speaking English.
That's
True enough.
reassuring in a detective.
What's the status on the Voodoo Murders case?
It's going. Can't seem to make any progress, though.
So it's not
Sluggish
going.
damn case.
Yeah.
It's weird.
Well, he literally goes to places where the murders
What's the
have
status?
been, so in that
You're as
sense.
filled in as me.
Yeah.
Really? That's disconcerting.
That's it.
Do you know anything about the patterns around the bodies?
Yeah, weird, huh?
In other words,
All
no.
7 victims had those little marks around them. We got all the marks on file, but we haven't figured out what, if anything, they mean.
Can we have those?
Have you actually tried?
Yeah.
Can I see the other
Did
6
you
patterns?
look?
Sure. People like that kind of stuff, don't they? Might make the book seem more mysterious.
Or it might, like,
Go talk to
help
officers.
solve the case.
Yeah.
All right. So,
Go
Have you
get
ever
that file.
called a hair club for men?
That's just rude.
I'd rather have no hair than your hair, Knight.
man, that joke does not even make sense anymore, does
It
it?
doesn't? I don't know.
The hair club for men? Like, how many young people remember that?
Don't they?
No.
Man, kids today.
Well, why should they?
I don't know.
The hair club for men?
Do they dispense Rogaine or something? Actually, I don't
Can I
know what
ask
they
you-
did.
I'm sorry, sir, but I really have to finish these reports.
So the correct thing to do here is not to interrogate her, but to holla at her.
Excuse me, officer.
Yes?
Then you get this little...
Can you get a file for me?
What file would that be?
They didn't want to render her face,
The
I
Voodoo
guess.
Murders file? Detective Mosley said I could see it.
Really? Well, if he said so.
Yeah, she's not going to go check with him or anything.
He
well,
said
okay
so.
then. Yeah, in this case.
Yeah.
But in the future, we could totally take advantage of her disinclination to actually verify
There it is.
anything.
You can look at it all you
Look,
want,
a file.
but don't leave this area with it, okay?
Oh, sure. I
And
will,
no
I will
photocopies
definitely
either,
not do
I'm
that.
afraid.
No photocopy.
And
Of
yet there's a
course.
copy
I'll
machine
stand
right
complete.
there.
Hmm.
Beignets?
No,
Hmm.
that's not the way.
Well, you know you have to do something silly to make them go away.
All right, so we need a copy of these. But we can't get one right now. If you try to copy it, they catch you. So let's just put it back in her inbox.
Are we going to
I'm done.
steal it from thence later on?
Thanks.
We're going to use video game logic. Adventure game logic. So what would you do in this situation?
Set a fire. That's my solution to everything.
You would
set a
set
small
a
fire.
fire.
Just a little one. Then they'll all run away and you can
And you'll pick up
totally-
the file and use the photocopier. And that will not look in any way suspicious.
Well, they wouldn't see you. They'd be off
Can I ask you
putting
about
out the
some stuff?
fire.
They see you trying to photocopy the file. You don't think they would see you trying to set a fire?
You'd have to do it real subtle like.
Really? Great. What'd you think?
Astonishingly lifelike.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Got any more ideas for photos for the book?
So you ask to take a photo with him.
Cop author photo might be nice.
You and me? Together?
Why not? Of course, you'll have to try to tone down your masculinity.
Well,
Little
okay.
dick.
I'll call the police photographer.
And that happens to be the woman. Good thing. They move really slow. So I've got the game set to full speed, but that
France,
only affects
come here a
Gabriel.
minute, would you? Bring your camera.
That is the actual rate that you would walk at if you had the speed
Oh
set
my
on
God.
normal.
That would be infuriating.
Yeah. I think I remember it being a little faster than that. It may be a DOSBox thing that makes it a little off, but I do remember it being really slow.
What did you need, Detective Mosley?
Well,
We need a
photos.
picture, please. And make it a good one, huh, sweetheart?
He's casually sexually
Sure,
harassing her.
Sweetheart.
Yeah. Well,
That's sexual harassment, and I don't have to take it.
I don't even think that
Say,
ad was
Jinsey.
around back then.
I know, and it makes no sense to
Was there anything
people
else?
today either.
Right. That also makes no sense.
Damn
Okay.
it.
So now you they will stay there while you go quote
Hold on a sec
check
while I
your
go check
hair.
my hair.
Good God, Knight, make it fast.
So I guess his overt vanity comes with an advantage.
So that guy's just
Let
not
me
going to
see
turn
that file
around.
again.
Nope.
That's handy.
Yeah. Well, he doesn't know you're not supposed to copy it.
Mm.
This is
Really?
This machine here.
This is what you always want to do when you're trying to do something on the slide, is look around a lot.
So they can tell you're not doing anything
And
you're not
whistle.
supposed to.
Yeah. So, like I said, video game logic.
And he was right there when she told you not to make any copies, so...
Yeah, well... And you don't...
You get points for putting that back?
Yeah, you do. Well, if you don't put it back, they notice that you didn't put it back, and then they know something's wrong.
I guess that makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay, ready.
Thanks, hon. Let me know when you got it developed.
Developed.
The photos, that is.
Yeah, sure.
I don't really know what that joke refers to.
Well, like her boobs coming in, I guess? Because that used
She's a
to
grown
be-
woman.
Yeah. He never promised it would be competent sexual harassment.
Well, I'll be seeing you.
Have a good one.
I don't know that Mark Hamill's really used to great effect in this role.
Mm.
All right. I'm not going to go to the cemetery today. So let's just head back to the bookstore and talk to Grace.
Our biggest fan.
Hello, beautiful. It's me.
More casual
I
sexual
wish you wouldn't wear
harassment.
that coat outside in June. I could smell you from here.
Got a minute, Grace?
What's up?
You can read the snake book before this, but I thought I would just
Do you know anything about
make it a little
snakes?
bit more logical.
Doing a family tree, Gabriel?
Ha. Ha.
Very funny. I mean real snakes. You know, scaly, cold-blooded. I would have thought you'd find them empathetic.
Mm-hmm. I know very little about reptiles of any kind and prefer to keep it that way. I think there's a book on snakes around here somewhere, though.
Okay, thanks.
So now it makes a little bit more sense for Gabriel to read the book. You can read it right away, but this book is not very helpful.
Snakes are legless reptiles. Some snakes kill their prey with poison, some by constriction. A snake smells by tasting the air with its forked tongue. The smells are passed back to a sense organ in the mouth. Constrictor snakes, however, sense their prey by vibration.
Did you know that medieval legends about dragons and giant worms are actually based on snakes? You know, dragons, devils, sea monsters.
Thought she
well,
said she
they've
didn't know
always
anything
been
about
associated with snakes.
Grace,
She knows about
get
dragons.
alive.
Fair enough, then.
Yeah, dragons are not reptiles, are they?
Well, they're scaly.
Got a minute, Grace?
What's up?
What's the taxonomy of things that don't really exist?
Hard to say.
Do you know what caprice encore means?
No. Sounds French, though.
No shit.
Mm.
Have you ever heard of a Schottenjäger?
No. Is that a voodoo word?
I don't think so. It's German.
Obviously.
No, but it has a nice ring, doesn't it? Schottenjäger.
Shots of Jaeger?
Could you do some research for me?
Sure. What?
Could you see what you can find out about a woman named Malia Getty?
The name Getty sounds familiar. What's your interest in her?
Just, you know, stuff about the voodoo murders. If you could get an address...
They're murders. Right. I'll see what I can find out.
It could be an
Anything
80-year-old
else?
woman, for all that she knows. Why is she so suspicious?
I can't think of anything.
Because he's a
Okay.
creep who sexually harasses her all the time?
Yeah, okay.
Well... it's about closing time.
So it is. Good night, Gracie.
Good night, Gabriel. And try not to dream, okay?
Okay.
I will give it my best.
Like, drink heavily before you go to sleep.
Actually, that could work.
Does that work?
I don't know. Maybe. I mean, don't people...
I don't know. I don't remember dreams, so I don't know how alcohol affects them.
Didn't she just put on a coat after bitching about him wearing a coat in
In
June?
the day.
Oh, because it gets so much colder in New Orleans at night because it's so dry there.
Yeah.
No.
And then you have the same nightmare again.
It's so tiny.
Yeah, that's the size of it. So I guess I didn't blow this one up. But So this is a weird scene, right? I mean, we see an old-timey guy. It looks like they're burning a witch. The witch turns into a leopard. And then we see this medallion come into focus and then get blood on it. And we don't have any idea what this means. And then this is a shot of the bookstore, St. George's Books. We cut back to the old-timey guy. A snake is going around his neck. And then someone is hanging from a tree. And I think that's Gabriel's face. I think it's supposed to be him.
Mm.
I guess these little poem snippets are supposed to be relevant to the day. I don't know that they really are. But every day starts exactly the same way.
It's cheaper that way.
Yeah. Grace comes in way earlier than Gabriel does. Gets up.
Good morning. Don't you look swell today? Actually, swollen.
Oh.
So have some. There's a fresh pot on the table.
Like I said, the very early days of voice acting, I don't know if they really had the hang of directing.
Seriously, you look like hell. Your hair is sticking straight up like a... Oh, it always does that. Never mind.
Ha ha.
Did you dream about the fire and the hang guy and that lion thing last night?
Leopard, not lion. Did you get anything on Malia Getty?
Well, I did get her address, but you're a little out of your league here, big fella. The Gettys own 3 local hospitals, just to name a few of their assets. They run in very high circles.
Did you get an address?
I got the address. I suppose this has nothing to do with the fact that Malia Getty is incredibly gorgeous. I should have known you wouldn't go for a rich, ugly socialite.
And that address is...
Hey! Far be it from me to postpone your total humiliation. It's 557 West Ingram. That's a garden district, a state city.
That's all I wanted to know. And yes, my dear, Malia Getty is the most dangerous-looking diversion I've ever seen. Ouch!
Oy, men.
She's just jealous.
Is she?
Go see that chick.
Alright, so that's the end of the first day. I'm gonna cut it here. That is how I always name my save files. Like, literally every save file I've ever had has been some combination of home row keys.
You don't name them Moo?
If I think about it, I do, but normally I don't.